I counted them. 57 houses, just like I said. Every single one they built on my stolen land. And here's the crazy part. I let them finish every last roof tile, every mailbox, even the stupid future community park sign that looked like it was made out of pure audacity. And you know what? The sound of those bulldozers, it started before the sun even thought about coming up. That's what woke me up that first morning. The ground shaking under those massive yellow machines, tearing through pastures where 4 generations of my family raised cattle and prayed for rain. House after house just popping up overnight. Little boxes made for people who'd never even seen a calving, who thought country living came with a Wi-Fi guarantee. I'll never forget the smell, the thick diesel exhaust, the reek of fresh concrete. It choked out 100 years of family sweat like it was nothing. Every morning, there she was, Vivian Ashford Cross, standing by her gleaming white Tesla, clipboard in hand like some suburban Napoleon. She was the HOA president, self-appointed queen of progress, and she'd managed to swipe 340 acres out from under me while I was still at the cemetery, saying goodbye to my parents. She even waved at me, called out across the dirt, "Thanks for being so reasonable about progress." And the crazy part? Everybody thought I'd rolled over. Even my sister, even the sheriff, even my own lawyer. He called me a broken old rancher. But I wasn't broken, not by a damn sight. You see, I still control the dam. 80 years old, but work just fine. And timing? Timing is everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You ever wonder what you'd do, watching strangers build their dreams on your grandfather's grave? Sit with that a second. Because here's how a rancher played the long game against suburban corruption. 6 months back, this whole mess started with a knock on my door. I remember the way that knock sounded. Sharp, impatient, expensive. There was this slice of air that cut right through the morning, right through the smell of cattle and honest work. My family's ranch. It was 340 acres of Colorado high country. My great-granddad homesteaded here in 1889. He used to say, "Land doesn't belong to you, you belong to the land." My granddad, he built the federal dam up on Willow Creek in '43, back when people actually believed in public works. It saved half the county from spring floods for 80 years. And my folks, well, they ran cattle until black ice took them both last January. Ever since, breakfast tasted like grief and coffee. That's what loss does, I guess. Leaves you staring at sunrise, trying to figure out if you're part of something, or just the last stubborn root left after the tree's been cut down. So, there I was, just me and my sister Della. She's a school teacher, the practical type, can talk sense into a fence post, but even she thought I should just sell out, move on, try Florida. She's tough as nails, Della, but not built for this kind of war. Then along came Vivian. Picture a corporate lawyer from Denver, hair so perfectly highlighted it could blind you at noon, driving a white Tesla that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. She took over as HOA president the day after she moved in, which should have told us democracy was dead before we even had a chance. By February, she was haunting county meetings, all smiles and perfume and concern for the community. She gets up at one meeting, starts talking about an environmental emergency. That voice, she could sell cancer as a spa treatment. She had charts, independent analysis, photos of my ranch looking like something out of a disaster movie. Claimed our cattle were poisoning the watershed, ruining the lives of 23,000 innocent residents. Commissioner Blake, whose golf game had improved lately, thanks to free lessons from Vivian's husband, nodded like a bobblehead. Emergency zoning, she called it. For community safety. That meant 48 hours. No public comment. No time for the people getting hosed to even show up. It was theft, but with a fancy title. The next day, I get a letter in the mail, Boundary Dispute Resolution. Like my whole world was a spreadsheet problem. Vivian showed up herself, surveyors in tow, and a sheriff's deputy who looked like he'd rather be at the dentist. She was all smiles. I hope we can handle this like civilized adults. Her perfume mixed with diesel, Smelled like the end of everything I knew. Your family's had a good run, she said. But progress requires sacrifice. I just touched my hat, try to remember how my granddad handled snakes. I said, or theft with a college education. She didn't smile at that. By mid-March, it was a full-blown invasion. Bulldozers, excavators, a whole army of workers. The machines rolled right past my kitchen window, tore up the same pasture where my granddad taught me to ride a horse. The ground, God, the sound of it, topsoil scraped away, all those years of sweat and work turned into red mud. Vivian stood there, boots too clean, waving at me again. Thanks for being so reasonable about progress. Like it was a joke only she understood. What really got me? Her workers were told to wave at me every morning. Some kind of psychological warfare, like I'd crack if I saw enough forced smiles. The local sheriff, Kane, stopped by that first week. He's a good man. Became a cop to help people, not to back up thieves with badges. He stood there, hat in hand, voice low. Ezra, I don't like this any more than you do. I said, then stop it. He spat in the dirt. Can't. County says it's civil. My hands are tied tighter than a calf at branding. By noon that day, bulldozers had torn up the land where 4 generations of us learned to rope and ride. Now it looked like Mars after a war. Wednesday's Gazette, front page, local rancher blocks community development. The quotes, the interviews, all from concerned residents who thought beef came from the grocery store. I was, apparently, an obstacle to affordable housing and progress. One quote burned. It's time for the old ways to make room for the new. Like working the land was some embarrassing habit. But while Vivian was out there spinning stories, my sister Della, she was busy doing what teachers do best. Homework. Spring break, she went digging in courthouse records, found paperwork so old it was yellowed at the edges. Turns out, the original land Grant showed our property line extended 60 feet past Vivian's fancy survey. Even better, the water rights and dam ownership were separate, protected by some oddity of Colorado law. I remembered reading about that in an old AG newsletter. First in time, first in right. If you used the water first, you kept the rights forever. That night, I called Tommy McGrath, Dad's old Army buddy, now a civil engineer famous for fixing problems. He listened to me ramble about the dam, the old flood control. Ezra, he said, if that dam's on your land, you don't just own water, you control it. Every drop downstream, that's yours to manage. It hit me like a bucket of cold truth. Those houses, all 57, sat right in the natural floodplain. April brought rain, and Vivian brought her next move, character assassination, Internet edition. Suddenly, there's a Facebook group, Pine Ridge Family Safety. Posts popping up like mushrooms, all with stock photo smiles. Concerned about ranch contamination. Why won't the county protect our kids? The comments, pure panic. Someone even said I threatened to unleash a cattle stampede. My cows are about as dangerous as a golden retriever with a self-esteem problem. But Vivian was good. She held community info sessions, passed out pamphlets warning about water contamination. The science? Fake or twisted. Those high bacteria readings came from a broken septic tank upstream. But try telling that to a scared parent. The economic siege started fast. Rusty's Diner stopped buying Whitmore beef. Pete, the owner, looked like he wanted to sink through the floor every time I came in. Feed prices jumped 40%. My sister faced questions at school. PTA mom suggested maybe she shouldn't teach, while her brother was so controversial. Della just smiled and said maybe they should focus on multiplication tables. Then came a knockout punch. 23 minutes in court, just enough time for Judge Caldwell to rubber stamp Vivian's latest request, a restraining order. The evidence? Edited security footage of me checking fences and hauling hay. Suddenly, I was preparing for retaliation. I couldn't go near the site. Couldn't even visit my parents' graves. But Della kept digging. Turns out, those single-family homes were built as luxury rentals. Permits said one thing, blueprints said another. Illegal, all of it. Vivian was betting nobody would check the fine print. That night, I sat on my porch, watching the construction lights blink on my stolen land, the air thick with rain and opportunity. She thought she was playing chess. Turns out, I've been holding the last move since 1943. May 1st, the Department of Health showed up, full hazmat suits like cow manure was uranium. Channel 7 was there, cameras rolling, the whole circus. Lead inspector shook his head. Water was cleaner than most politicians. But somehow, all 47 samples tested positive once they reached a lab owned by a company whose board included Vivian's husband. Like magic. That night, the news called my ranch an environmental crisis. May 15th, black SUVs started circling my land. Private security. Helicopters overhead. My morning coffee tasted like surveillance. Even Kane, the sheriff, stopped by, apologizing as he delivered reports about stockpiling explosives and coordinating with agitators. They froze my bank accounts, cut my feed, sabotaged my equipment. Della's car windows got smashed at school. But see, desperation cracks people open. Helena Cortez, a 73-year-old neighbor, started bringing us news. She sat through HOA meetings, blending in like wallpaper. Turns out, Vivian and her husband were mortgaged to the hilt. Every day, the project stalled, they bled money. If Sunset Meadows failed, they'd lose everything. That was the crack I'd been waiting for. May 20th, Rebecca Morrison, a journalist, found federal investigators sniffing around Vivian's bank records. Judge Caldwell rushed another emergency order, demanded I hand over the ranch in 48 hours. The eviction would be